Alrighty, guys, I went 3-1 on my 4 personal sports bets on my website yesterday. But before we get into some more of that, just want to take a quick time out and welcome you to the video here today for Friday, September 30th, 2022. My name is Brock Page, and I've been doing sports picks for free right here on YouTube since 2016. I also sell my personal sports bets on patreon.com/BrockPage. Once again, guys, I went 3-1 on my 4 personal sports bets on that website yesterday. I'm also 11-3 with a push on my last 15 NFL tier package bets on that site as well. And of course, that's good for 79% during that span. Now, if you want to access my NFL tier package bets, I'll include a link for that in the description section below. And just remember, guys, if you sign up for that NFL package here today, you're going to get access to all the cheaper memberships on my site absolutely free. They're going to be included with your purchase. Now, I currently have over 680 members who are signed up and active on that website right now. Once again, guys, the link for my NFL tier package bets is in the description section below. And with that, guys, let's go ahead and dive into some free content. We're going to take a look at the Phillies taking on the Nationals, Game 1. That's going to be a 1:05 Eastern first pitch. Philadelphia is minus 180, totals 8.5. Bailey Falter for the Fightins, Eric Fetty for Washington. And as bad as the Phillies have been, we're looking at a Nationals team who just can't win at home. Matter of fact, out of their 35 divisional home games, these guys got the W only 8 times. They also have Eric Fetty on the mound here today, who's 6-11 on the year with an ERA in the 5s. Now, he's got to face a Philly lineup who's typically solid despite their recent struggles. Kyle Schwarber has a National League best 42 home runs. Meanwhile, as a team, the Phillies are in the top 10 in team batting average. Now, they also have Bailey Falter on the bump here today. He's 5-4 in the year with a 1.23 whip. When it comes to the total, the Phils do typically hit well against these Washington pitchers. They're averaging just about 7.5 runs a game in their last 10 meetings with the Nats. They also saw 8 out of those 10 ball games get over the line. I'm going to lean toward Philadelphia minus 180 in the over 8.5 in Game 1. Next matchup, it is going to be Reds at the Cubs, 2:20 p.m. East. Chicago's the $1.45 favorite at Wrigley Field, total 7 runs. Adrian Sampson for Chicago, Graham Ashcraft for Cincinnati. And even though Graham's given these guys many chances to win this year, he does still come into today's ballgame with an ERA in the 4s, along with a 1.36 whip. And even if Graham pitches well again, well, the Reds have had a tough time hitting on the road. These guys are in the bottom 10 in road scoring. Now they're facing, on the other side of things, Adrian Sampson on the bump. And he's had a pretty solid year for Chicago despite his record. Sampy's actually got an ERA in the low 3s along with a 1.25 whip. Now the Red Hot Cubbies as a team, they've won 8 out of their last 9 ball games. And that includes a 3-game sweep of the Phillies during that stretch. Patrick Wisdom has a team-best 25 home runs on the year. Meanwhile, teammate Nico Horner, he's got the highest qualifying batting average in the lineup here today. Now, when it comes to the total, 7 out of Chicago's last 10 meetings with Cincinnati did get over the line. So if you were into historical trends, certainly want to think about that one there. Now, Chicago also averaged 6 runs a game during those head-to-head meetings I just mentioned. Meanwhile, Cincy went 7-3 to the over in their last 10 Graham Ashcraft starts. I'm going to lean toward the Cubs, minus 145, over 7. Next ball game, little NL East action. I'm talking about the Orioles at the Yankees, 7:05 Eastern first pitch. New York's minus 175, totals 8 runs. Domingo Germán for New York, Jordan Lyles for Baltimore. Now, Lyles has 11 losses on the year, along with a 4.55 ERA. And that really shouldn't come as much of a surprise. This Baltimore pitching staff is in the bottom 10 in hits allowed per contest. Now, as a team, the O's are on a 3-game skid, and they took the loss in 5 out of their last 6. They're facing Domingo Germán, who's got an ERA in the threes, along with a 1.12 whip. And even if Germán sucks today, the Yankees lead the American League in scoring on average per contest. Now, obviously, Aaron Judge has a team best 61 home runs. That's a league best, and that is an historic number there. That's a history best 61. Actually, he tied Maris. One more would be a history best. Most home runs in American League history. Now, Judge, he obviously leads the majors in OPS as well. And when it comes to the number, 5 out of New York's last 6 in the Bronx did get over the line. Meanwhile, Baltimore's 22-13 to the over against the AL East on the road. I'm going to lean toward the Yankees, minus 175, over 8. Next ball game, Phillies, Nationals game 2, 7:05 Eastern start time. Philadelphia is minus 170, totals 8.5. Noah Syndergaard for Philadelphia, Anibal Sanchez for Washington. And even though Annie's got a pretty crappy record, he does actually come into today's game with a 1.24 whip. And even though we lean toward the Phils in game 1, I actually think the Nats should be able to keep the second game close. They're actually in the top 10 in the league in hits per game. Nelson Cruz, he's the club leader in RBI with 64 of them. And when it comes to making contact with the baseball, well, Washington is currently in the top 3 in fewest strikeouts per game at the plate. Now they're facing Noah Syndergaard, who's just 5-8 on the year with the Phils. And once again, guys, the ice-cold Phillies lost their last 5 straight. And that includes a 3-game sweep to Chicago during that span. Now, total-wise, Philadelphia saw their last 4 straight on the road all fall under the line. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, the Nats went 9-1 to the under in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward Washington plus 1.5 and the under 8.5 in game 2. Next matchup, little AL East action. I'm talking about the Red Sox at the Blue Jays, 7:07 Eastern start time. Now, Toronto's the $1.90 favorite at home, totals 8 runs. Alek Manoah on the bump here for Toronto. Looks like Nick Pivetta on the other side for Boston. Now, Pivy's got double-digit wins on the year, along with 168 strikeouts. Meanwhile, as a team, the Bo Sox won their last 3 straight. And they scored 21 total runs during that very short span. Rafi Devers has a team-best 27 homers and 87 ribbies. Meanwhile, Xander Bogaerts on the other side, well, not the other side, on the same team, he has the highest qualifying batting average in this Boston lineup here today. He's hitting .309 at the dish. Now, Boston's facing a Toronto team who's been pretty bad lately with regard to the run line. They actually failed to cover the 1.5 in their last 4 straight at Rogers Center. And when it comes to divisional home games, well, they haven't been all that much better. These guys are just 13-23 against the number versus divisional opponents in their own building. And, of course, that's good for just 36% in that category. Now, when it comes to the scoring, Toronto went 60% to the over in their last 10. They're also 61% to the over against the AL East at home. Meanwhile, Boston's 9-2 to the over in their last 11 Nick Pivetta starts. I'm going to lean toward Boston plus 1.5, over 8. Next ball game, it is going to be Twins at the Tigers, 7:10 p.m. East. Minnesota's minus 150, total 7. Joe Ryan for the Twins, Tyler Alexander for Detroit. And even though Alexander's record isn't great, he still has a whip of 1.28. Now, the Tigers have also been red hot as a team here lately. They won their last 6 straight, and they also picked up the W in 8 out of their last 9. Javi Baez is the team leader in home runs and runs batted in. And when it comes to scoring runs, well, the Tigers averaged over 5 runs a game in their last 10 outings. Certainly much different than pretty much what they've done the whole year. They've been pretty bad at the plate, but I'll tell you what, over the past couple of weeks, these guys have been hitting the baseball. Now, they're taking on a Twins team on the other side who lost 7 out of their last 10 themselves. They've had a pretty tough time in their divisional road games. Minnesota's gotten the W in only 13 out of 32 away games this year against the AL Central. And of course, that's good for a win percentage of just 406 in that category. And even though starting pitcher Joe Ryan is having a pretty great year, this Twins lineup is getting fewer hits a game on the road than most clubs in the American League. Now, total-wise, 3 out of the Twins' last 4 road games fell under the number. Meanwhile, Detroit's gone 80% to the under in all of their Tyler Anderson starts this year. I'm going to lean toward Detroit plus 1.5, under 7. Next ball game, Royals, Guardians, 7:10 p.m. East. Cleveland's minus 130, total 7. Aaron Savali for the Guardians, Brady Singer for Kansas City. Now, the Singman's having one heck of a year this season. He's 10-4 with an ERA in the 2s. Now, Singer's also fanned 144 batters, and he has a 1.13 whip. Now, when it comes to cashing in on the run line, KC's covered the 1.5 in 8 out of their last 10 ball games. They're facing a Guardians club who has a losing record against the run line at Progressive Field this year. Cleveland's also been horrible at producing runs on their own field. They're actually in the bottom 3 right now in home scoring. When it comes to the starting pitching in this one, Aaron Savali's only 3-6 on the year with an ERA in the 5s. Now, when it comes to the total, Cleveland's gone 19-13 to the under against the AL Central at home. Meanwhile, Kansas City went 60% to the under in their last 10. I'm going to lean toward KC plus 1.5, under 7. Next ball game, little NL East action, should be a good one. I'm talking about the Mets at the Braves, 7:20 p.m. East. Now, the Mets are minus $120, total 6.5. Jacob deGrom for New York, Max Fried for Atlanta. Now, unfortunately, guys, I can't give you a free... No, I'm just kidding. We're going to give you a freebie on this one. And believe it or not, guys, it's actually Max Fried who has the better ERA in this matchup here today. Fried's 13-7 with an ERA of 2.50. He's also got 167 strikeouts and a .02 whip. Meanwhile, as a team, the Braves won 4 out of their last 5 ball games. And they do a nice job of producing runs at home. They're in the top 3 in home scoring. They're led by Austin Riley, who's 5th in the bigs in home runs. Now, they're facing a Mets squad who somehow took the loss in 2 out of deGrom's last 3 starts. As a matter of fact, this New York pitching staff has actually had problems with Atlanta all year. They're allowing nearly 5.5 runs a game in their last 10 meetings with the Braves. Now, when it comes to the number, 8 out of those 10 ball games I just mentioned got over the line. So once again, if you're into historical trends, plenty of overs to go around between these two squads. Meanwhile, New York's 5-1 to the over in their last 6 on the road. I'm going to lean toward Atlanta plus $1, over 6.5. Next ball game, Rays, Astros, 8:10 p.m. East. Houston's minus $2, total 6.5 runs. Framber Valdez for Houston, Drew Rasmussen for Tampa Bay. And as good as Drew's been, well, the Rays have run into a bit of a buzzsaw here at the tail end of the season. They lost 7 out of their last 10, and they averaged under 1 run a game in those losses. Now, Tampa Bay's also got a win percentage of just .453 in their road games. They're facing Framber Valdez on the bump here today, and he's been excellent for Houston. The lefty's 16-5 with an ERA of 2.69. Now, Valdez also has 182 strikeouts and a 1.14 whip. And even if Valdez blows chunks, this Houston lineup is tough to pitch against. They're in the top 5 in homers, and they're led by Yordan Alvarez, who's 2nd in the majors in OPS. Now, total-wise, Houston's gone 60% to the under in all of their games at Minute Maid Park. Meanwhile, Tampa Bay saw unders in 6 out of their last 10 as well. I'm going to lean toward Houston minus 1.5 and the under 6.5 in the very tight window. Next game, Marlins at the Brewers, 8:10 Eastern first pitch. Milwaukee's minus 190, total 6. Corbin Burns for the Brewers, Sandy Alcantara for Miami. Now, Sandy's got 14 wins on the season, along with an ERA in the low 2s. Sandy's also just 1 strikeout shy of 200 for the year. Now, as a team, the Marlins have played some pretty good baseball over the past week or so. They got the W in 4 out of their last 6, and they averaged just about 5 runs a game in those victories. Now they're facing a Brewer team on the other side of things who actually lost 3 out of their last 4 themselves, and they've had a pretty tough time covering the run line in their own building. These guys are cashing in on the run line in just 41% of their home games. Now, the Brewers have also had a pretty tough time getting hits in front of their own fans this year. These guys currently rank in the bottom 5 in the league in home hits per contest. Now, when it comes to the scoring, Milwaukee's gone 7-3 to the under in their last 10. Meanwhile, Miami's 60% to the under in their last 10 as well. I'm going to lean toward Miami plus 1.5, under 6. Next matchup, Pirates at the Cardinals, 8:15 Eastern first pitch. St. Louis is the $2 favorite at Busch Stadium, total 7 runs. Jack Flaherty for St. Louis, Johan Oviedo for Pittsburgh. And the Buccos are winning only 34% of their road games this year. They also have the worst lineup of hitters in the National League. Now, these guys are currently dead last in the National League in team batting average. They're scoring under 3.8 runs a game for the entire year. They're facing a Cardinals club who can certainly score with the best of them. These guys are currently in the top 3 in runs per contest, top 5 in team OPS. Paulie Goldschmidt's in the top 5 in the bigs in batting average, RBI, and OPS. When it comes to the numbers, St. Louis went 7-3 to the over in their last 10 head-to-head meetings with Pittsburgh. They also averaged well over 6 runs a game during that span I just mentioned. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh, on the other side of things, they saw their last 3 straight road games get over the line as well. I'm going to lean towards St. Louis minus 1.5, over 7. The next ball game I have for you, it is going to be Rangers at the Angels, 9:38 Eastern start time. The LA Angels are minus 155, totals 8 runs. Reed Detmers for the Angels, Glenn Otto for Texas. Now, the Rangers have done a nice job covering the 1.5 pretty much for the entire year. They're actually covering in 63% of their divisional road games. They've also done a real nice job hitting for power. Believe it or not, these guys are in the top 10 in the majors in home runs. And, of course, they're led by Corey Seager, who has over 30 home runs on the year. He's actually got 32 bombs on the season. Nate Lowe's also hitting .304 at the dish, which is amongst the league leaders. It's actually in the top 10 in baseball in that batting average category. Now, they're facing an Angels club on the other side who's had a pretty tough time scoring runs against the Rangers. They're averaging under 3.6 runs a game in their last 10 meetings with Texas. They're also striking out more times a game at the plate than any other team in the majors. Now, when it comes to the total, LA's gone 63% to the under against the AL West at Angels Stadium. Meanwhile, the Rangers on the other side, they saw 3 out of their last 4 Glenn Otto starts fall under the line. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the Rangers, plus 1.5, under 8. Next ball game, little interleague action here. I'm talking about the White Sox at the Padres. That'll be a 9:40 Eastern start time. The Pods are minus $2, total 7.5 runs. Yu Darvish for San Diego, Davis Martin for Chicago. Now, Martin's got an ERA in the 3s along with a 1.20 whip. When it comes to hitting the baseball, the White Sox are in the top 3 in road hits per game. Jose Abreu's hitting a team-best .306, along with 75 runs batted in. He's actually 7th in the bigs in that batting average category. Now, they're facing a Padres team who's had a tough time scoring at Petco Park. These guys are actually in the bottom 5 in the league in home scoring. And no real surprise here, guys, they're also in the bottom 5 in home hits per game. And when it comes to the total, San Diego went 5-1 at the under in their last 6 on their own diamond. Meanwhile, Chicago went 11-6 to the under against the National League this year. I'm going to lean toward the White Sox plus 1.5, under 7.5. Next ball game, A's Mariners, 9:40 p.m. East. Seattle's minus 250, total 7. Logan Gilbert for Seattle. Ken Waldichuk for Oakland. Now, Kenny's got himself an ERA in the 7s after just 22-plus innings. Meanwhile, as a team, the A's lost their last 4 straight. And they have one of the worst lineups in baseball. These guys are actually dead last in batting average, dead last in OPS as well. These guys are also, they have to face Logan Gilbert here today, who's 13-6 with 170 strikeouts. And even though this Mariner lineup hasn't exactly been murderer's row this year, they do find ways to get on base. They're actually in the top 3 in the majors in walks per 9 at the plate. Now, total-wise, Seattle's gone 21-13 to the under in their divisional home games. Meanwhile, Oakland's gone 60% to the under against the AL West on the road. I'm going to lean towards Seattle, minus 1.5, under 7. Next ball game, it is going to be Rockies at the Dodgers, 10:10 Eastern first pitch. LA's the $4 favorite, totals 8 runs. Clayton Kershaw for Los Angeles, Chad Kuhl for Colorado. Now, Kuhl's got double-digit losses on the year, along with an ERA in the 5s. When it comes to hitting the baseball, well, Colorado's scoring fewer runs a game on the road than any other club in the league. Now, they're facing Clayton Kershaw, who has double-digit wins on the year, along with a .95 whip. This Dodger lineup is also scoring more runs a game than any other club in the majors. Freddie Freeman has a team-best 97 RBI on the season. He's also leading the league right now with a .327 batting average. When it comes to the total, LA went 6-3 to the over in their last 9 Kershaw starts. They've also averaged well over 5 runs a game in their last 10 meetings with Colorado. So once again, if you're into historical trends, certainly want to think about that one there. I'm going to lean toward the Dodgers, minus 1.5, over 8 runs. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup for the video. It is going to be D-backs at the Giants, and that'll be a 10:15 Eastern first pitch. San Francisco's minus 130, total 7. Alex Cobb for San Francisco, Merrill Kelly for Arizona. Now, Kelly's 13-7 with an ERA in the 3s. He's also fanned 168 batters this year, and he has a pretty stingy 1.11 whip. Now, when it comes to cashing in on the run line, the D-backs have done a nice job covering over the past few weeks. They're 7-3 against the number in their last 10 outings. Christian Walker also has a team-best 36 home runs. He's currently leading the franchise in RBI as well with 91. Now, he's facing Alex Cobb here today, and even though Alex has had many solid outings, he does come into today's contest with a losing 6-7 record. Meanwhile, as a team, the Giants have had a tough time scoring against Arizona this year. They're averaging under 2.8 runs a game in their last 10 meetings with the Diamondbacks. When it comes to the total, San Francisco's gone 60% to the under this year against the NL West at Oracle Park. Meanwhile, Arizona's 21-13 to the under in their divisional road games. I'm going to lean toward Arizona plus 1.5, under 7. And with that, guys, we're going to go ahead and jump into our quick pick recap. I like Philadelphia minus 180, over 8.5 in Game 1. Give me the Cubs minus 145, over 7. Yankees minus 175, over 8 runs. Nationals plus 1.5, under 8.5 in Game 2. Boston plus 1.5, over 8. Detroit plus 1.5, under 7. Kansas City plus 1.5, under 7 runs. Braves plus $1, over 6.5. Houston minus 1.5, under 6.5 runs. Marlins plus 1.5, under 6. Cardinals minus 1.5, over 7. Texas Rangers plus 1.5, under 8. Chicago White Sox plus 1.5, under 7.5. Mariners minus 1.5, under 7. Dodgers minus 1.5, over 8 runs. And with my next and final free pick for the video, I'm going to lean toward the D-backs plus 1.5, under 7. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on my website. But most importantly, guys, gotta thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. With that said, guys, happy Friday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.